Here, starting on verse 12 in chapter 1, the Hatha yogi should live alone in a hermitage and practice in a place the length of a bow, 1.5 meters, where there is no hazard from rocks, fire, or water, and which in a well-administered and virtuous kingdom, nation, or town, where good alms can be easily attained. Here, Yogi Swatmarama has outlined the ideal situation for Hatha Yoga sadhana and the location of the, am I saying this right? Hermitage? Hermitage?
Yeah. Hermitage, yeah.
Hermitage. The sadhaka should establish. However, we must remember that in the days of Yogi Swatmarama, the whole structure of society and the way of living were very different from what we see nowadays. It is doubtful whether a truly righteous country still exists today. So few countries allow for the growth of the spirit. With the influence of modern politics, everyone is more interested in making money and gaining power and prestige. It seems India is one of the only countries which has catered for spiritual growth and continued the tradition of giving alms. India is still the home of spiritually hungry and spiritually enlightened souls, and she continues to feed her children. In the tradition of ancient India, a man's life was divided into 4 distinct stages, which were called ashrama. The first ashrama was for the period up to the age of 25, and it was known as brahmacharya ashrama. In this ashrama, the child went to live with a guru in a spiritual community, where he received an education in both worldly and spiritual subjects. Then, from the age of 25 to 50, he entered Grihastha ashrama, in which he married and lived a family life. From the age of 50 to 75, he passed through Vanaprastha ashrama, where he and his wife left all family ties and lived alone in the forest or jungle, secluded from society. After 75, the two separated and took the life of sannyasa. In sannyasa ashrama, one was free from society and independent of its rules and regulations. However, society took care of the sannyasins and gave them food, clothing, shelter, if it was required. Those people who had natural inclination to sannyasa at an early age were permitted to leave society if the family agreed, but they were never allowed to re-enter the framework of society again. The ashrama tradition was designed to systematically evolve man's consciousness, and in those times, society respected those who were spiritually inclined and took care of them. Ashrams were established so men and women who were dedicated to the life of the spirit and sannyasa could live in a conducive environment aloof from society. Those who were unable to take such a life showed their respect by offering what they could to maintain the sannyasins. Thus, it was the householder's duty to give bhiksha or alms when the swamis came for food. Now, relating Swatmarama's specifications to modern times, the most important factor is environment. He recommends that a sadhaka should live alone and away from others. Let us be practical for present times and suggest that a person who plans to undergo intensive sadhana should dwell in a place which is a comfortable traveling distance from the noise and pollution of industry and the hustle and bustle of a crowded city. The atmosphere should be calm, peaceful, and clean, free from the hazards of rocks, fire, and water, landslides, volcanoes, earthquakes, bushfires, floods, swamps, etc. The geological and climatic conditions should be conducive to health and sadhana, and the soil should be suitable for growing crops. Environment plays a major role in influencing the results of sadhana. If sadhana is performed in a disturbing atmosphere and emits negative vibrations, too much energy is dissipated in simply trying to overcome the negative influences. The body and mind are very susceptible to negativity, and it is much easier to fall under the influence of negative vibrations than to rise above them. A positive environment in itself charges one with energy, inspiration, and the will to strive forward in the quest for spiritual enlightenment. Amidst people who are mainly motivated by ambition and who, thirsty for wealth and power, will push you down at any opportunity, it is difficult to keep your head above water, let alone make any significant progress in sadhana. Therefore, it is essential for a sadhaka to choose quiet and pure surroundings away from the materialistic and polluted cities. It is recommended in the sloka to practice in an area of 1.5 meters where there are no surrounding objects which may cause physical afflictions should they be knocked, etc. One should also practice in the same place every day in order to build up the spiritual vibrations. These are the various recommendations stated by the yogis. They are just a matter of common sense and logical thinking, rather than rules that must be adhered to. Verse 13. This is the description of yoga hermitage, as prescribed by the cities for Hatha yoga practitioners. The room of sadhana should have a small door without aperture window, holes or cracks, being neither too high nor too low. It should be spotlessly cleaned, wiped with cow manure, and free from animals or insects. Outside, there should be an open platform with a thatched roof, a well, and a surrounding wall fence. The appearance of the hermitage should be pleasant. When we consider the specifications for the yoga hermitage, we will have to remember that they were probably ideal for that particular time and those climatic conditions. Needless to say, if we plan to establish a sadhana place now, we will have to make certain adaptations to suit present circumstances and facilities. However, we can use Swatmarama's description as a basic guideline. Essentially, Swatmarama is saying that the hermitage should be simple, clean, practical, and very natural. Having a small door is suitable in a country where people grow no taller than 5.5 feet. But some Europeans are 6 feet or more, so allowances must be made. Without windows, holes, or cracks was probably recommended to keep insects, rats, and other pests from entering the sadhana room. Nowadays, however, windows have fly screens attached, so there would be no harm in having a window or two as long as there are curtains. No window may have been recommended so that the atmosphere would be dark and more conducive to internalizing the awareness and introverting the mind. A window could be a great distraction, as the sadhaka's attention could often be drawn to view the outside world and external happenings. The sadhana room should be neither too high nor too low. If it is too high, it would be difficult to clean, and if it was too low, it would be impractical for sadhana and for proper air circulation. The recommendation that sadhana room be kept spotlessly clean is applicable for today as it was then. If the mind is to be kept pure and unpolluted, it is essential that the environment be the same. Even the daily act of cleaning purifies the mind. The very thought of using cow manure may come as a shock to the Western mind, but it is a well-known tradition in India. In the villages, even to this day, most homes have floors made of hard-packed earth. Every morning, the women clean their homes and wipe the floors with fresh cow manure mixed with a little water. Cow manure is an excellent disinfectant and insecticide, which has medicinal properties. What is cow manure anyway? Digested grass and the cow's bodily secretions. Most importantly, it is a natural disinfectant. It does not contain harmful chemicals to give off gases which pollute the air, and it is cheap. Nature provides us with everything, but we have forgotten the simplicities of life. The sadhana room must be free from insects and animals. At the time of sadhana, there is nothing more distracting than mosquitoes, flies, or other buzzing, crawling insects. Besides this, some mosquitoes carry malaria, and many insects can give a painful sting or cause skin rashes. Animals should not be kept in the hermitage, as they can be a great disturbance, requiring care, food, and extra thought that can distract one's energy from sadhana. Particularly when you first commence sadhana, the mind always looks for an excuse to stop the practices as it resents being centered on one particular point for too long. It will always try to prevent you from coming closer to the object of meditation. The mind will surely find good reason to be disturbed and externalized by annoying insects and animals. So a sadhaka should definitely avoid this problem. The open platform with a thatched roof has probably been recommended as a sadhana place for the summer months when it is too hot to practice, especially pranayama indoors. It could also be used for sleeping outside. In India, most people prefer to sleep outdoors as it is cooler and closer to nature. Swatmarma has not omitted the necessity of a well. Not only is a freshwater supply essential for good health, but a practitioner of Hatha yoga needs pure water for his daily perfectory practices, as well as for drinking, bathing, toilet, cooking, etc. Neti, Dodi, and Kunjal require fresh water, and you can avoid chlorinated. And if you can avoid chlorinated or fluorinated water, these techniques are much more effective. Another reason why there should be a well in the hermitage is that a lot of time and energy can be lost if the yogi has to make several long and arduous trips to a river to fetch water. Swatmarma is outlining instructions for intensive Hatha yoga sadhana, and therefore he gives prime importance to minimizing external distractions and conserving vital energy in the inward journey. If one's hermitage is in a jungle or some other undeveloped area, a surrounding wall would serve the purpose of keeping out unwanted predators, particularly wild animals. Apart from this, if the hermitage is enclosed within a wall, its spiritual vibrations and magnetic power can be maintained, and negative external influences will not be able to penetrate so easily. Thus, a peaceful atmosphere can be maintained. All these recommendations have been given by yogis who have traversed the spiritual path and experienced the pitfalls and problems of a sadhaka. Problems a sadhaka is likely to face. It should also be understood that these recommendations have an esoteric meaning as well. They indicate the way a sadhaka should structure himself and his mind. The mind has to be protected from outside influences, and the body should have a good defense mechanism. The mind and body must be kept pure, simple, and modest. Then they will cultivate spiritual vibrations and conditions and will be conducive for the Atma to manifest itself. The structure of the hermitage is an external symbol of one's own self and of what will be achieved through sadhana. Therefore, a sadhaka should try to live as simply and as self-sufficiently as possible. His possessions should be kept to a minimum, and his surroundings should always remain uncluttered and clean. Therefore, he will have fewer mental distractions and worries, and all his energy can be directed towards spiritual unfoldment. I will pause here for a moment. Do you have anything to say, or do you want me to read another verse?
I have a question.
Okay.
When they're talking about sadhana in this, are they talking about the actual physical practice of Hatha yoga as well as the meditative and studying practice? They're talking about both, which is why like 1.5 meters.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, so and then I forgot what Atma means, A-T-M-A?
Atma is the inner consciousness or the soul.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, that's pretty important. So this reminded me a little bit especially when you were reading 12 before you went to 13. It reminded me of, remember when Callie was doing that morning meditation thing? I mean, the room was, it wasn't exactly the same thing as what he was talking about, but the room was specifically set up. And you know, with a particular kind of lighting and lack of it, you know, and she structured a particular kind of environment that was conducive to focusing by doing a call and response initially, you know, which was a big part of it, and then some chanting, and it was it really did take you to a place where instead of starting from 0 to get to 60, you were starting from 30, you know, and that was particularly, it was really helpful, you know. I mean, you know, right now I'm in the room that's right off of the deck, and it was nice and quiet, and there were just some birds and stuff, but you know, we're getting close to 8 o'clock, so the gardeners are out, the lawn care guys are out there. This is Valley Stream, so we're kind of packed in a little close together, and I didn't know there were that many lawns in Valley Stream, but every morning.
Oh yeah.
My God, Nassau County
Yeah.
with their lawn maintenance.
Yeah.
It's out of control.
And it makes it hard to, it's not conducive
Yeah.
to meditation.
Yeah. It's
But
like,
okay, that's all. I was just reminded of that.
there's such like noxious metal mechanical noises from those stupid leaf blowers. Like in certain areas, you're not allowed to do them on certain days. It's literally every day in my neighborhood.
Every day,
On the
all day,
weekends.
all day, every day. I'm like, there isn't even that much lawn. I mean, we were about east where we had 2 acres of property. Here I have a patch.
Yeah.
Like this. And that's what everyone has. And it's just like, how, but I know because my grandma my grandma lived in Hicksville. And even then, I remember growing up in this meticulous lawn, these cookie cutter, perfect, fake lawns that are so treated with nonsense. And like, then you're not even allowed to walk on the lawn. I was not allowed to play on the lawn.
Because of the chemicals. That's why everyone around has cancer.
No, my guess is Pam wasn't allowed to play on the lawn because she would have messed it up, and it was
Oh,
like
that's
green
very
velvet.
sad.
Can you imagine having 3 grandchildren that aren't allowed to play on your lawn? It's ludicrous.
Yeah. Well, it really is a bit much. And I have to say, I think I'm the only one in our neighborhood who doesn't use any chemicals on my lawn. So by the end of summer, my lawn is largely interesting, unidentifiable weeds and crabgrass. Except this year, I had, and I forgot that I did this, but I threw a couple of butternut squash seeds near my house just because I ate a butternut squash that I really liked at the end of winter. So I saved the seeds and I took care of them. I threw them out there and I thought, let's see what happens. Well, now it's covering 1/2 of my little front lawn. And Pam, you've been there. You've seen how it's kind of split in two. 1/2 has complete, and we had to take down a tree that was located right in the middle of these butternut squash vines. I got 10, I had to pull them up because otherwise the guys would have stepped in them. The butternut squashes it is. So it's a little early for harvesting them. 10, I have 10 butternut squashes, which are now curing on the front porch.
Oh my God,
And it's amazing. And nobody's complained about the vines. And I thought for sure, I have a very tidy neighbor next door, and I thought for sure that she would be bothered by them. Instead, she came over and she asked for one of the squashes.
Aw, that's really
I thought, yeah, you can have a squash.
I
But-
always think my neighbors are gonna call me on the town because I'm a corner.
Yeah, you are.
We do our own lawn maintenance, which is very low maintenance. And, around here, if you have a leaf on your lawn, whether it's dead or still green, this is a big no-no. But I have a ton of leaves and weeds and everything growing out there. So I always joke like, mine looks like the sloppy house on the block. But I like it. And it allows the squirrels and the bugs to come and eat. And
Oh yeah, leaves are good for the pollinators. But when I moved in with my parents, I dug up half of their lawn. My mother was so upset, and me and my father did it when she was out, and she was so mad at us. But we planted all these vegetables and flowers and things, and we'd always be going in the front and sort of like tidying them. and in a neighborhood where like people wouldn't really socialize a lot with them because they were like the only Catholics in like an entirely Jewish community, like a very Orthodox Jewish community. All of a sudden, every neighbor wanted to be friends and talk about the garden in the front. And my mother like loves it now. She goes and she plants all these. This is like probably 15, maybe even 20 years later now. She like plants stuff and it's like a part of their garden. And that was a big fight with Mark. Like when we first moved in, I'm like, I want to get rid of all the lawn. She's like, no, I love a lawn. We need a lawn. So that's been like I had to put my garden like behind bushes in the back so it looks like we have a normal property. But
my husband isn't quite that extreme about it, but I said, look, they took down the tree in the front because it was dead. I said, so I want to put a raised bed out there, etc. And I said, they took down a tree in the back and they kind of wrecked the back lawn such as it is. And I said, so why don't I put a raised bed back there too? And he said, you can have one. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a raised bed in the back because now with the dead tree gone, there's enough light to actually grow vegetables back there very well. And in front, I'm going to rake up all of that remaining crabgrass and dead stuff as soon as the squash is done. And then I'm going to try to plant wild thyme and see if I can get it to take. Because my brother way upstate has a huge, he's on a farm. So he has this huge patch of wild thyme. Literally, when you walk through it and you kind of shuffle through it, this little aroma of thyme kind of wafts up and it's very subtle. It's really nice. And it's not a bad looking, creepy crawly thing on the ground either. It looks good.
That's so lovely.
Yeah, we'll see. He said one.
Well, that's what happened with us. And then slowly we added every year. I'd be like, oh, can you make me another bed? And like now we have a lot of beds.
Well, there you go.
There you go. Slow and steady wins the race, right? Yeah, that was like when we moved in, there weren't any trees. And I planted so many trees because I wanted a Sattvic atmosphere. Like there's something about the neighbors being so close and all that like wild energy of the neighbors. Like when you try to meditate, it interferes. Like there's something protective about nature and the energy of a tree and the energy of plants that like make it a more peaceful atmosphere for sure. I get I agree so wholeheartedly with everything they're saying in the book.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, it's right on. It makes me yearn for, especially during COVID when we were sort of locked into this property. It made me yearn. I kept telling Mark, I'm like, if the studio doesn't reopen, I want a pastoral 15-acre farm somewhere. Like we have to go somewhere really Sattvic with no neighbors and just like in nature. That's what I was craving. So I don't know, my wheels are turning. It's like now that things are reopening, like maybe we need a second location on a farm somewhere. What I'm coming out of this with. But yeah, I agree. It's like crazy. And like even if in your house there's negative energy of other people, it's hard to meditate. Yeah.
I did notice when I went to North Carolina, which is my like calm, happy, my favorite place. Like I didn't have to do the sadhana practice. Like it just like it was already just like a Sattvic like for me.
Yeah.
Like I didn't, but when I came home, I craved it. It was like I had to have it here in order to create that balance of the outside. And I try to keep my inside house, like she says, and it's funny, I did a major top to bottom clean. It was almost like my body was craving it. Like I can't practice in here because you're home all the time. You see the moldings are dirty. Like who cleans their moldings? But I had to clean the moldings and the windows.
Yes.
That's something I had to do as soon as I got back because I needed it as clean as I can get it. But with COVID, it was a challenge. I'm grateful sports are back on because the amount of violent TV coming out from what Eric was watching, it was really affecting me. Like just a movie. So just like imagine, and I only have him to deal with. Like I loved how she was speaking of the animals because like just balancing, like there was a time last week I was leading, it might've been Friday, and you guys were meditating. Kramer woke up and had to go for a walk. I can't explain to him I have to meditate right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's mean for me not to bring him out. He has to go to the bathroom. So I was like, this will be my meditation today. So yeah, there are distractions, but I guess I've learned to just embrace them because it's not like we live in the farm or.
Well, one of the things that's interesting is that, Amanda, you said before Pam was talking and ended up talking about Kramer and his needs, you said something about negative energy in the house can make it hard to meditate. On the other hand, in my head, I'm sitting here thinking that is almost when you most need to be able to do that kind of thing. Because I was remembering one of my sons who's actually doing very well now and who hasn't had a drink since October 3rd, 2014.
Wow.
14, yes. And that's a long time. Was drinking really heavily when he had for years. And if ever I needed meditation, it was during that time. And you're right about how hard it is because you're constantly on guard. You're constantly on edge, sort of this fearful anticipation. But that's when you need it. That's exactly when you need it. And this, as noisy as it can get, I'm thinking, but that's when you need it to be able to focus, Yeah. So, but what they're talking about here, what they were describing is that kind of serious, almost constant practice. Mm. It almost sounds like a convent,
Yeah, right. Like a separate structure from the house.
Yeah.
But when you meditate in the house, like as much as it's difficult if there's negative energy because you're processing all of it, it's like you transmute that energy into something more positive for the other people.
Yeah.
So it's like a healthy thing for the other people in the house. But I see like the point of what she's saying. Like you're going to spend all your time focused on like dealing with other people. And that's like not going to get you into the deepest. I mean, I guess eventually that doesn't matter, right? If you're like super enlightened.
I guess so. But I think, I sort of feel like in my real life right now, and there's going to be moments where I'm going to have a Cali-like atmosphere, and there's going to be moments when I'm on the flight path to JFK, because I am, So
I liked how she was saying, like, like I don't think of America as like a spiritual country.
No.
Like, and I remember people like, oh, I have to go to India to find my spirituality. And how sad is that we can't find it here? So like, even though we're the exception to the rule, like, because we all can create this spiritual practice here, it is possible to do. It's not going to look perfect like she's describing, but I remember when we first started doing this back in March, like even with Kathleen, I would get so much more. Now I don't even hear the landscapers. Like, it doesn't, I don't know if you get used to it or you just, I'm learning this idea of like finding peace with things lately. And it's almost like I can acknowledge it, but I don't attach myself to it. And I think that's the environment I try to create in this crazy America house.
That's such an interesting point.
I don't need to go to the ashram. I never had that I need to go to the ashram feeling. Like some people are like, I have to go find myself at the ashram. Like I'm just going to do it here in this crazy Kramer room.
Well, Rev became an ashram.
Yeah, that's
why people were missing it so bad when we had to close, It was like, that's a lot of people were like, I'm sorry, I can't do Zoom. My house is like crazy. And I got kids and animals and millions of people and I can't do it. I got to come back when the studio reopens. I guess it like serves that purpose and like from all the years of meditation and chanting, like I feel like there's such a sattvic energy inside the space.
There's some magical energy in there. I'm craving it too. I'm like, I just want to go and sit in there. I just want to be with the
You got a key, go ahead. No, yeah, something about meditating in that space, it's like you can drop right in. And I think it's because it's like they said, like no windows, dim lights, very clean, right? Like we have people cleaning it twice a day. It's like
and that's its purpose. It doesn't
right.
have any other purpose.
Right.
That's its sole purpose.
Yeah.
People might meet the purpose in many different ways because there's all sorts of things going on there, but that is its purpose. And you walk in the door and you leave, you sort of feel dropping off of you all of the other stuff, or at least by the time I sit down and kind of focus a little, because I'm in a place where this is its only purpose.
Yeah. And some of my
teachers
said, like, don't meditate in your bedroom. Don't meditate in your kitchen. Even if you have to like just pick a closet, go in the closet, and that's the only thing you're supposed to do in the closet. And it literally never clicked until you just said that. I'm like, why? Why can't I meditate in my bedroom? And they're like, because you do other things in your bedroom. You're supposed to associate it with sleep, not.
I was just thinking about that. Where I'm sitting now is a room. It was a kid's bedroom, but now we have a lot of our books in here, so we call it the library, and it's got a nice comfy couch.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll sit here and meditate here, or I'll meditate upstairs in what we now also used to be a kid's bedroom, what we now call the studio. But that's also where I work out with a trainer 3 times a week upstairs. And I don't have an isolated place to do yoga.
Well, we're going to reopen soon.
I do it in this.
Oh yeah, good.
Yeah.
But I think I needed it in this space, and I'm okay with it because I call this room the Oasis room now. It's my all-in-one. It's Kramer's room, my yoga room. Now I moved my desk in here, so it's my home office. But moving it from the living room into here, I had a window in there, but this is like a better window set up. Oh, hi, Isabella. But I'm so much calmer at work. I think I'm creating the energy in here I need for that. So it's okay. But yeah, I'm ready for the studio to open. Hi, Isabella. Look.
Hi, Izzy. Hi. How are you?
You were sleeping?
She was getting coffee with Daddy.
Oh, she's so cute.
No, yeah, it's so nice you're transmuting the energy, Pam. It's like a good thing, but it's also tough.
Yeah, no, I never thought of it that way, but that's how I'll think of it. But we should move to breath and meditation because I'm not doing well with time today.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yes, I see the time.
We're gonna go upstairs and meditate.
We'll do 3 rounds of alternate nostril, and then we'll do 20-minute meditation. But if you have to log out at 8:30, you can just log out. So just taking a breath in through the nose and out through the nose. And then bringing your hand up to your nose, closing right nostril with right thumb, inhale through left. Close left, exhale right. Inhale right. Close, exhale left. Inhale left. Close, exhale right. Inhale right. Close, exhale left. Inhale left. Close, exhale right. Inhale right. Close, exhale left. I'm gonna set the timer. If you need to do a few rounds of alternate nostril breathing, you can. If you need to add on another pranayama today. Whatever it is you need to take to get to your meditation. Bringing hands to your heart. Namaste. Thank you. Have a beautiful day.
You too.
Have a nice day, everybody.